That passport is fake.
Get out of the way. The words cut through gate B22 like a slap. Evelyn Carter stopped with one hand on the handle of her carry-on and the other resting on her passport. Around her, the early morning crowd at Charlotte Douglas International Airport went still in that strange way crowds do when something ugly happens in public. No one wanted to stare. Everyone stared anyway. Marcus Reed stood behind the Summit Air podium with his blue lanyard crooked around his neck and a cup of coffee sweating beside the scanner. He was 38 years old, broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, and wearing the tight expression of a man who believed a small amount of power made him larger than he was. He looked at Evelyn's passport. Then he looked at Evelyn. Then he looked at the passport again, slower this time, as if the small blue book had personally offended him. "This does not look right," he said. His voice was not loud yet. That made it worse. Evelyn held his eyes. She was 44, dressed in a navy blazer, a white blouse, and black slacks, pressed sharp enough to show care without showing off. Her hair was pulled back neatly. Her gold watch caught the light when she moved her hand. "My passport is valid," she said. Calm. Too calm for Marcus. Behind her, a retired schoolteacher named Margaret Wilson tightened both hands around the strap of her purse. Margaret had been watching Marcus for nearly half an hour. She had seen him laugh with a white businessman whose boarding pass failed twice. She had seen him wave an elderly white couple through without checking their names. She had seen him make a young black mother step aside because her child's ticket felt unusual. Margaret knew patterns. She had taught children for 35 years. She knew when someone was confused, and she knew when someone was cruel. Marcus flipped through Evelyn's passport with 2 fingers. London, Geneva, Nairobi, Tokyo, São Paulo. Each stamp seemed to sharpen his suspicion. "You travel a lot," he said. "I do." "For what?" "Work." "What kind of work?" Evelyn paused just long enough for the air to change. "Federal government." A small laugh came out of Marcus. Not joy, not surprise, something colder. "Federal government," he repeated, as if the words were too expensive for her mouth. A man in a grey suit lowered his phone. A woman holding a toddler pulled the child closer. The gate smelled of burnt coffee, floor cleaner, and the warm sugar from a pretzel stand down the hall. Overhead, a boarding announcement echoed from another gate, cheerful and useless. Marcus held the passport up to the fluorescent light. Evelyn watched him. She did not reach for it. She did not beg. She had spent 16 years inside the machinery of American aviation. She had inspected aircraft that executives swore were safe. She had found falsified maintenance logs hidden beneath polite smiles. She had stood in conference rooms while airline lawyers tried to make federal law sound optional. She knew the sound of arrogance. It always believed it was procedure. Marcus waved over a younger agent, Lauren Bennett. She was 26, tired-eyed, with a half-finished coffee in her hand. "Tell me this looks right," Marcus said. Lauren leaned in. She looked at the passport, then at Evelyn, then back at Marcus. "It looks fine to me." Marcus smiled without warmth. "Go back to your register." Lauren's face flushed. She hesitated, then stepped away. Her eyes dropped to the floor as if shame had weight. Evelyn saw that. Margaret saw it too. So did Daniel Brooks, a 33-year-old software engineer standing near the rope line. He had been watching since Marcus first touched the passport like it was contaminated. Something in Daniel's chest told him this was not going to end with an apology. He opened his camera, pressed record, kept the phone low. Marcus leaned forward. I need secondary identification. Evelyn opened her briefcase and placed her driver's license beside the passport. Marcus glanced at it. This does not match. It does, Evelyn said. My name is Evelyn Carter. It is the same on both documents. Do not tell me what matches at my gate. The crowd became quiet enough to hear the scanner beep from the next podium. Evelyn's breathing stayed even. Marcus's did not. His jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed. The thing inside him, the thing that had been hiding behind procedure, finally stepped into the open. People like you always think you can talk your way through anything, he said. Margaret whispered, Oh, Lord. Evelyn's voice softened, but it did not weaken. Sir, you are making a serious mistake. Marcus picked up the passport. For 1 second, the whole gate seemed to lean toward him. Then he turned. Behind the counter sat a small document shredder, used for old forms and discarded boarding slips. Evelyn saw where his hand was going before anyone else did. Do not do that, she said. Marcus fed the passport into the machine. The shredder screamed. Blue cover, white pages, years of travel, citizenship, identity. All of it vanished into thin, curling strips. No one moved. No one breathed. Evelyn looked down at the paper falling into the bin. Then she looked back at Marcus. And for the first time, he noticed something in her eyes he had not expected. Not fear. Not humiliation. Authority. Quiet. Measured. Immense. You just destroyed a United States passport, she said. A federal document. Marcus smirked. I protected this flight. Evelyn reached into her briefcase. Not for another ID, not for an apology. For the credential he should have asked about, before he decided who she was. The credential came out of Evelyn's briefcase in a small black leather holder. She did not flash it. She did not wave it like a weapon. She opened it slowly, with 2 fingers, and placed it flat on the counter, beside the shredded remains of her passport. Marcus looked down. At first his face did not move. Then his eyes began to read. United States Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, Liaison Authority, Senior Federal Aviation Inspector, Evelyn Carter. The words seemed to drain the blood from his skin, 1 line at a time. The smirk disappeared. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. The gate stayed silent around them. Even the toddler near the window had stopped crying, as if the whole room understood that something larger than a missed flight had just entered the air. Margaret Wilson took 1 step closer to Evelyn. Not too close. Just enough to say, without words, that the woman was not standing alone. Marcus swallowed. You should have said something, he muttered. Evelyn looked at him. I did, she said. I told you my passport was valid. That landed harder than a shout. Daniel Brooks kept his phone steady. His thumb was damp against the case, but he did not stop recording. He could feel his own heartbeat in his wrist. He was not an activist, not a reporter, just a man who had seen too many people look away and later call it minding their business. Not today. A security officer arrived first, then another. Their boots struck the tile in measured steps. Radios crackled at their shoulders. Marcus turned toward them fast, grateful for uniforms he believed would understand him. Officers, I have a passenger with a fraudulent document, he said. She became confrontational after I stopped her from boarding. The first officer, a square-jawed man named Officer Grant, looked at Evelyn. Then he looked at the credential on the counter. Then he looked at the shredder bin. Blue paper strips curled over the plastic edge like evidence trying to climb out. His expression changed. Not much. Enough. Sir, Officer Grant said, did you destroy that passport? Marcus stiffened. I confiscated a suspicious document. That is not what I asked. The second officer, Officer Ramirez, stepped behind the podium and looked into the bin. Her face tightened. She had worked the airport long enough to know the difference between a mistake and a mess. This was a mess with a federal seal in pieces. "Did you call TSA document verification?" she asked. Marcus blinked. "I used my judgment." Officer Ramirez looked up. "That is also not what I asked." A murmur moved through the gate. Soft, uneasy, the sound of people realizing that silence had consequences too. Lauren Bennett stood 2 counters away, frozen with her hands near her keyboard. She had heard everything. Her stomach twisted. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to go back 10 minutes and say more than "it looks fine" to me. Margaret saw the young woman's face. Regret was a hard thing to watch. It made people look suddenly younger. Evelyn saw it too, but she did not rescue her. Not yet. Some lessons had to breathe before they could heal. Officer Grant turned to Evelyn. "Ma'am, can you tell us what happened?" Evelyn's voice stayed steady. She described the line, the passport, the questions, the second identification, the younger agent's response, the insults, the shredder. She did not exaggerate. She did not need to. Every fact had sharp edges. Marcus shifted behind the podium. "That is not how it happened." Daniel raised his phone slightly. "I recorded it," he said. The words changed the room. Marcus looked at him for the first time. Daniel's voice shook, but he held it together. "I recorded the whole thing. A woman near the charging station covered her mouth. A man in a baseball cap whispered, 'Good.' Officer Ramirez held out her hand. 'Sir, do not delete anything.' 'I won't,' Daniel said. Marcus's face reddened. "This is insane. I was doing my job." Evelyn turned her head toward him. "No," she said quietly. "You were deciding who deserved dignity." For one brief second, Marcus looked wounded, as if the accusation were unfair. But deeper than that, beneath the anger, there was fear. Not fear of what he had done to Evelyn. Fear of what might now happen to him. That was the difference, and everyone could feel it. The boarding screen still glowed above them. Summit Air Flight 1482 to Washington, D.C. Delayed. One small word. But inside Gate B-22, it felt like an entire system had paused. Officer Grant stepped closer to Marcus. "Step away from the podium." Marcus did not move. "Sir." The second time was colder. Marcus looked at Evelyn's credential again, then at the shredded passport, then at Daniel's phone. Slowly, he stepped back. His kingdom had been the size of a counter, a scanner, and a plastic name badge, and now even that was being taken from him. Marcus stood 3 feet from the podium, but it felt farther. The scanner was still there. The computer was still open. His coffee still sat beside the keyboard, untouched now, a brown ring spreading under the paper cup, but the place no longer belonged to him. Officer Grant kept one hand near his radio and the other on his notepad. His voice stayed even. "Tell me exactly what happened." Marcus glanced at Evelyn, then at Daniel, then at the passengers gathering in a loose half-circle behind the rope line. Faces, phones, wide eyes, tight mouths. He saw judgment everywhere, and it made him angrier because he could not control it. "I already told you," Marcus said. The document looked suspicious. Officer Grant looked down at the shredded passport. What specifically looked suspicious? Marcus opened his mouth. Nothing came out. He looked at the bin again, as if the right answer might be buried somewhere in the paper strips. "The stamps," he said finally. "The travel history." It was unusual. Officer Ramirez crossed her arms. Unusual is not the same as fraudulent. Marcus's eyes snapped toward her. "I know that." "Then why did you destroy it?" The question was simple. That was why it hurt. A few feet away, Evelyn stood with her briefcase in one hand and her destroyed passport in the other, or what was left of it. She had asked Officer Ramirez for the bin, not because she wanted to hold the damage, but because evidence mattered. Procedure mattered. Truth mattered. Her hand didn't shake, but inside, something old and tired pressed against her ribs. It was not surprise. Surprise had left her years ago. It was the weight of being questioned before being believed, the weight of having to stay calm while someone else became reckless, the weight of knowing that if she had raised her voice, even once, Marcus would have used it against her. Margaret Wilson watched Evelyn's face and understood more than she wanted to. At 63, Margaret had learned that dignity often looked like silence to people who did not know what it cost. She stepped closer to Officer Grant. "May I say something?" Officer Grant turned to her. "Yes, ma'am." Margaret lifted her chin. Her voice trembled at first, then steadied. I watched him for almost half an hour. He did not treat people the same. He smiled at some folks, waved them through. Then he slowed down for others, people who looked like her. Marcus scoffed. "Oh, come on." Margaret's eyes cut to him. "No, sir. You do not get to come on me. I taught school for 35 years. I know the difference between caution and cruelty." The gate went quiet again. That sentence found everyone. Even Lauren Bennett looked up. Her face was pale now. She took a breath, walked around her counter, and came forward with both hands clasped in front of her. Officer Ramirez noticed her. "You work here?" Lauren nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "Did you look at the passport?" "Yes." "And?" Lauren swallowed. Her eyes flicked to Marcus. He stared at her like a warning. She looked away from him and toward Evelyn. "It looked valid to me," Lauren said. "I told him that." Marcus stepped forward. She barely looked at it. Officer Grant raised one hand. "Stay where you are." Marcus stopped. Lauren's voice grew softer, but clearer. "He dismissed me. He told me to go back to my register. I should have pushed harder." Evelyn looked at her then. Not warmly, not harshly, just fully. Lauren's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "I am sorry," she said. Evelyn let the words rest between them. Then she said, "Thank you for telling the truth now. It was not forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a door left open. That was enough to make Lauren breathe again." Daniel handed his phone to Officer Ramirez without unlocking anything beyond the video. He played it from the beginning. The sound came out tinny, but clear. Marcus's voice, Evelyn's calm reply, the insult, the shredder, that awful mechanical scream. As the video played, people looked away and then looked back. Some had seen it once in real life. Seeing it again made it worse. A man near the window removed his cap and held it against his chest. A woman whispered, "Lord have mercy." Marcus stared at the floor. His shoes were polished. His badge was still clipped to his chest. His name was still visible. Marcus Reed. For the first time that morning, the name looked less like authority and more like evidence. Officer Grant closed his notepad. "We need a supervisor from Summit Air. Now." Lauren reached for the phone at the counter with shaking hands. Before she could dial, a man in a wrinkled dress shirt hurried into the gate area. Ryan Mitchell. Station manager, 46 years old, tie loose, face flushed, breathing hard. He stopped when he saw the officers, then the bin, then Evelyn's credential on the counter. His whole body changed, like a man stepping onto thin ice. "What happened here?" Ryan asked. No one answered right away. Evelyn turned to him. The gate lights hummed above her. Her voice stayed low. One of your employees destroyed my United States passport after refusing to follow verification procedure. Ryan looked at Marcus. Marcus looked away, and that small movement told Ryan almost everything. Ryan Mitchell did not speak for a full 5 seconds. That was all it took for the truth to spread across his face. First confusion, then fear, then the look of a man trying to calculate how much damage had already been done. He stepped toward the counter and lowered his voice. "Marcus, tell me you did not put a passport through that shredder." Marcus straightened his shoulders. It was suspicious. Ryan closed his eyes for half a second. Not long enough to pray. Just long enough to keep from saying something he could not take back in front of passengers. "Did you call the TSA document verification line?" Marcus looked past him. "Ryan, I have handled documents for 7 years." "That is not what I asked." The sentence echoed the officer's. Same words, same wall. Marcus's jaw tightened. "No, I did not call." Ryan looked at the bin again. The shredded blue strips sat there under the fluorescent lights, small, silent, unforgiving. Officer Ramirez placed Daniel's phone on the counter and turned the screen toward Ryan. "You need to see this." Ryan did not want to. Everyone could tell. But he pressed play. The video filled the small screen. Marcus's voice came out sharp and clear. Evelyn's calm answer followed. Then the insult. Then the sound of the shredder. Ryan's face changed as the video played. His throat moved. His eyes flicked once toward Evelyn, then down again. Shame had a way of forcing people to study the floor. When the video ended, no one said anything. Then Margaret Wilson spoke from behind the rope line. That is what happened, every word of it. Ryan nodded once, slow. "Ma'am," he said to Evelyn, "I'm sorry." Evelyn looked at him. The apology did not enter her face. Sorry does not restore a federal document. Ryan swallowed. "No, ma'am. It does not. And it does not explain why your employee felt entitled to destroy it." The words were not loud. They did not need to be. Ryan felt them like pressure against his chest. He had taken this station manager role 3 years earlier, believing he could fix small problems with schedules, staffing, and nicer break room posters. He had heard complaints. He had seen reports. He had trusted supervisors when they marked them resolved. Now those buried things were rising, and they had teeth. His radio crackled. "Ryan, operations wants you on the phone. Corporate is asking what is happening at B-22. Ryan looked toward the back hallway. Then his cell phone began to vibrate in his pocket. He pulled it out. "Summit Air Regional Operations," he answered. "Ryan Mitchell." He listened. His eyes lifted to the crowd, then to Marcus, then to Evelyn's credential. "Yes, sir," he said. "There is video." A pause. "Yes, sir. A passport was destroyed." Another pause. Ryan's face went pale. "I understand." He ended the call and slid the phone into his pocket with slow fingers. Marcus watched him. What did they say? Ryan did not answer him right away. He turned to Officer Grant. "Can we move Mr. Reed to a non-public area?" Marcus recoiled. "Move me? For what?" Ryan's voice was quiet now. That made it final, because corporate has seen enough to know this cannot continue in front of passengers. "I did my job." "No," Ryan said. The word came out harder than he expected. A few passengers shifted. Ryan took a breath and looked Marcus in the eye. "You did not do your job. You ignored procedure. You ignored another employee. You humiliated a passenger. And you destroyed a United States passport." Marcus's face twisted. "So now you are taking her side, too?" Ryan stared at him. "There are not sides here, Marcus. There is what happened." For the first time, Lauren Bennett looked at her manager with something close to relief. Not because the damage was fixed. It was not. But because someone with authority had finally said the plain thing out loud. Officer Grant stepped closer. "Mr. Reed, come with us." Marcus looked around at the gate. The same passengers he had expected to impress now watched him like a warning sign. Daniel's phone sat dark on the counter, but the damage had already left the device. It was out there now, moving from screen to screen. Faster than any airport announcement, faster than any apology. Marcus seemed to understand that all at once. His breathing grew shallow. He looked at Evelyn. For one strange second, it seemed like he might say he was sorry. Instead, he said, "You could have just told me who you were." Evelyn's face hardened. "I should not need a title to be treated like a person." Margaret closed her eyes. Lauren pressed a hand to her mouth. Even Ryan looked down. Because that was the sentence beneath the whole morning. Not the passport, not the flight, not even the video. That sentence. Officer Ramirez picked up the shredder bin with both hands, careful not to spill a single strip. Evidence now. Not trash. Marcus watched her carry it away. Then Officer Grant guided him toward the side hallway. No handcuffs. Not yet. Just a firm hand near his elbow and a quiet command. "Keep walking." Marcus walked past the rope line, past the passengers, past the woman with the toddler, past Daniel, past Margaret. No one shouted. No one clapped. That silence was worse. It was the sound of people choosing, finally, not to protect the man who had counted on their quiet. Evelyn remained at the counter. Her passport was gone. Her dignity was not. And inside Gate B-22, everyone knew the morning had crossed a line it could never uncross. The hallway behind Gate B-22 was narrow, windowless, and too bright. Marcus walked between Officer Grant and Officer Ramirez without saying a word. His shoes made small, hard sounds against the tile. Behind him, the noise of the terminal faded into a muffled blur. Rolling bags, boarding calls, a child crying somewhere far away. Life kept moving out there. His did not. Ryan Mitchell followed a few steps behind, phone pressed against his ear. He kept saying "yes, sir," in a voice that grew smaller each time. Corporate wanted names, times, copies of the video, a written incident report within the hour. Legal wanted every employee's statement preserved. Public relations wanted to know whether the passenger was still in the terminal. Ryan glanced at Marcus's back. "Yes," he said quietly. "She is still here." In the operations office, the air smelled like old coffee and printer toner. Officer Grant pointed to a plastic chair near the wall. "Sit down, Mr. Reed." Marcus sat. Not because he agreed. Because he finally understood that standing no longer made him look powerful. Officer Ramirez stayed by the door with the shredder bin in her hands. The strips of Evelyn's passport were sealed in a clear evidence bag now. Blue and white pieces pressed against the plastic like a broken promise. Marcus stared at it. For the first time, the paper looked official to him. That was the sickness of it. It had been official before he respected it. Ryan stepped into the room and ended his call. His face looked older than it had at the gate. "Marcus," he said, "corporate has placed you on immediate administrative leave pending investigation." Marcus looked up fast. "Leave? Ryan, this is overkill." Officer Grant's eyes stayed on his notebook. "No, Mr. Reed, this is the beginning." The word beginning sat heavy in the room. Marcus turned to Ryan. "You know me." Ryan rubbed a hand over his mouth. "I thought I did." That hurt Marcus more than the officers did. Not because he felt remorse, but because he felt abandoned. He had expected loyalty, the kind men like him often called fairness when it protected them. Ryan opened a drawer, pulled out a blank incident form, and stopped. His hand shook. He placed the form on the desk and looked toward the door as Lauren Bennett stepped in. She did not look at Marcus first. She looked at Ryan. "You asked for my statement?" Ryan nodded. Lauren held a printed form against her chest. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steadier now. "I wrote down what I saw." Marcus let out a bitter laugh. "Of course you did." Lauren turned to him. Something had changed in her face. Fear was still there, but it no longer owned the whole room. "You told me the passport looked wrong," she said. "I looked at it. It did not. I told you that. You ignored me. You are new. I am trained." Marcus leaned forward. "You do not understand what we deal with at the gate." Lauren's voice broke for half a second, then came back stronger. "I understand that we do not destroy passports, and we do not treat people like they are guilty because of how they look." Ryan closed his eyes. Officer Ramirez watched Lauren with quiet approval. She had seen a lot of witnesses shrink under pressure. Lauren didn't shrink this time. Back at the gate, Evelyn sat near the window with Margaret beside her. The chair was hard, the light was cold. Her flight was delayed on the screen above them, but nobody around her complained now. Margaret reached into her purse and pulled out a small pack of tissues. "I know you do not need this," she said softly, "but I am offering it anyway." Evelyn looked at the tissue, then at Margaret. For the first time all morning, her face softened. "Thank you." She took one, not because she was crying, because kindness deserved to be accepted. Daniel stood nearby with Officer Ramirez's colleague, giving his contact information. His phone kept buzzing in his pocket, message after message. He glanced down once and saw that someone had already shared the video from his account. Views climbing, comments multiplying. His stomach tightened. He had not posted it for attention. He had posted it because the truth needed witnesses. Still, the speed of it frightened him. The internet could expose cruelty, but it could also turn pain into entertainment. He looked toward Evelyn. She was not a hashtag. She was a person sitting under airport lights, holding a tissue with both hands. That mattered. A woman with a toddler approached slowly. "Mum," she said to Evelyn, "I am sorry I did not say anything." Her voice was small. Evelyn looked up. The woman's eyes were wet. "My little boy saw it. I wish I had shown him better." Evelyn studied her for a moment. Then she said, "Show him now." The woman nodded. She turned to her son, knelt down, and whispered something into his ear. The boy looked at Evelyn with wide eyes. Then he said, "I'm sorry that happened." Evelyn's breath caught quietly. Not much, enough for Margaret to notice. "Thank you," Evelyn said. And in that small moment, among delayed flights and federal reports and shredded paper, something human survived the damage. Patricia Morgan arrived at Charlotte Douglas before the next boarding announcement could finish. She came through the terminal doors in a dark grey suit, federal badge clipped to her lapel, one hand around a leather folder, and the other holding a phone that had not stopped ringing since she left her car. She was 52, compact, sharp-eyed, and moving with the kind of purpose that made people step aside before they knew why. Officer Grant saw her first. He straightened. "Ms. Morgan?" Patricia nodded once. "Where is Evelyn Carter?" He pointed toward the window. Patricia's eyes found Evelyn sitting beside Margaret Wilson. For one brief moment, the hardness in Patricia's face shifted. Not softened, shifted. Like anger had made room for concern. Evelyn stood as Patricia approached. Neither woman hugged. They were not that kind of colleagues. Their world was built on reports, regulations, and rooms where every word could become part of a record. But Patricia reached for Evelyn's arm and held it for half a second. That was enough. "Are you hurt?" Patricia asked. "No." "Were you touched?" "No." "Your passport?" Evelyn glanced toward the sealed evidence bag now held by Officer Ramirez. "Destroyed." Patricia looked at the bag. Her jaw set. The terminal noise seemed to fade around her. A rolling suitcase squeaked past. A coffee machine hissed behind a kiosk. Somewhere overhead, a calm, recorded voice reminded passengers not to leave bags unattended. Patricia turned to Ryan Mitchell. "You are the station manager." Ryan stepped forward. "Yes, Mum." "Ryan Mitchell. I need a private room, access to your incident logs, the names of every employee who worked this gate this morning, and a copy of all camera footage from this area." Ryan nodded quickly. "Yes, Ma'am. Not soon." "Now." "Yes, Ma'am." Marcus was still in the operations office when Patricia entered. The room changed when she walked in. He looked up from the plastic chair and saw the badge, then the folder, then her face. He knew before she said a word that this was not customer service. This was not a complaint. This was something with weight. Patricia did not sit. "My name is Patricia Morgan. I am the Regional Director for the Office of Aviation Consumer Protection under the United States Department of Transportation." Marcus's lips parted. He said nothing. "The woman whose passport you destroyed is Senior Federal Aviation Inspector Evelyn Carter. She has served this country for 16 years. But that is not why this matters." Marcus blinked. Patricia stepped closer. "It matters because her passport was valid before you knew her title. Her rights existed before you saw her credential. Her dignity was not waiting for your approval." Officer Grant stood by the door, silent. Ryan looked at the floor. Marcus swallowed. "I thought the document was suspicious." Patricia's eyes did not move. Based on what? The travel, the stamps, the pattern. What pattern? Marcus's face tightened. Patricia waited. She was very good at waiting. In boardrooms, silence made executives nervous. In hearings, it made liars careless. In small airport offices, it made men like Marcus hear themselves. He looked away first. I made a judgment call. "No," Patricia said. "You made a person smaller in your mind. Then you treated the law like it belonged to you." The words landed clean. No yelling, no performance. Just the truth. Placed on the table where no one could move it. Ryan's phone vibrated again. He ignored it. Patricia turned to him. "Mr. Mitchell, this department is opening a formal inquiry into Summit Air's passenger handling practices at this station." Ryan's head lifted. "Ma'am, I understand this incident is serious, but I truly believe this is isolated." Patricia opened her folder. Paper moved softly. "No, it is not." Ryan stopped breathing for a second. Patricia read from the page. 14 discrimination complaints in 2 years at this station, most involving passengers of color, several involving document challenges or denied boarding, all closed internally. Ryan's face drained. Marcus looked at him. Even he had not expected that number to be spoken out loud. Patricia closed the folder. Resolved does not mean resolved, Mr. Mitchell. Sometimes it means buried. The office went still. Outside, through the half-open door, the terminal kept moving. Passengers bought coffee. Children tugged at sleeves. Flights boarded. America continued its ordinary morning. But inside that room, something ordinary was being called by its real name. That was why it felt dangerous. Patricia looked back at Marcus. "You are not the whole problem," she said. For 1 second, relief flashed across his face. Then she finished. "You are the proof." Marcus looked down. Ryan covered his mouth with one hand. and somewhere out by gate B22, Evelyn Carter sat upright beneath the cold airport lights, no passport in her hand, no anger on her face, and more authority in her silence than Marcus Reed had ever carried in his badge. The video reached 1 million views before Evelyn's replacement flight was even assigned. Daniel Brooks stood near the charging station, staring at his phone like it had become too heavy to hold. Notifications stacked on top of each other. News accounts, lawyers, strangers, people thanking him, people demanding interviews, people asking for permission to use the footage. He looked across the gate at Evelyn. She was speaking quietly with Patricia Morgan now, not crying, not shaking, just answering questions with the same careful precision she had used from the beginning. That steadiness bothered Daniel in a way he could not explain. Not because it was cold, because it had clearly been practiced. A person didn't become that calm by living an easy life. A person became that calm by learning that the world punished them more harshly when they broke. Margaret Wilson sat with her purse in her lap, watching the crowd around Evelyn shift from curiosity to respect. She had seen that shift before. People often respected power after they failed to respect pain. That was what made her tired. Lauren Bennett came back to the gate carrying a paper cup of water. She walked slowly, as if every step needed permission. She stopped a few feet from Evelyn. "Miss Carter?" Evelyn turned. Lauren held out the water with both hands. "I know this does not fix anything." "No," Evelyn said. Lauren's fingers tightened around the cup. "But I wanted to offer it." Evelyn looked at the young woman's face. Red eyes, pale cheeks, a mouth pressed tight to keep from trembling. Lauren was not innocent. She had seen wrong and stepped back. But she had also stepped forward when it mattered. Evelyn accepted the cup. "Thank you." Lauren nodded too quickly. "I should have said more." "Yes," Evelyn said. The truth hit Lauren harder than comfort would have. Evelyn's voice softened. "But you said it when it became dangerous to say it. Remember how that felt. Next time, say it sooner." Lauren looked down, then back up. "I will." Margaret smiled faintly. Not because the moment was sweet, but because it was honest. Healing did not always arrive as a hug. Sometimes it arrived as accountability, spoken without cruelty. Across the terminal, Ryan Mitchell stood outside the operations office, speaking with Summit Air Corporate on speakerphone. His face had gone grey. "Yes, we have preserved the footage," he said. "Yes, Ms. Morgan has requested the complaint records. No, I wouldn't recommend issuing a statement before legal reviews the facts." He stopped, listened. His eyes flicked toward the gate. Then he said, "With respect, sir, the facts are already public." Inside the office, Marcus Reed heard that through the half-open door. "The facts are already public." The words crawled under his skin. He sat in the plastic chair with his hands locked together, staring at a wall calendar from last month. His mind kept replaying the moment Evelyn placed the credential on the counter. Not the passport. Not the shredder. The credential. That was still his first regret. Not that he had harmed her. That he had chosen the wrong person to harm. And somewhere deep inside, beneath the panic and anger, a smaller truth waited for him. A harder one. He had not made a mistake because he lacked information. He had made a mistake because he believed he already knew enough by looking at her. That truth scared him. So he pushed it away. Officer Grant stepped into the doorway. "Mr. Reed, corporate security is on the way. You will remain here until they arrive. You are not to contact witnesses. You are not to delete messages. You are not to discuss this incident with passengers." Marcus looked up. "Am I being arrested?" "Not at this time." "At this time," Marcus repeated. Officer Grant did not blink. At this time, the hallway went quiet again. Back at the gate, the screen changed. Summit Air Flight 1482 remained delayed. But a new message appeared beside Evelyn's name on Patricia's tablet. Confirmed. Competitor airline, first-class seat. Washington, D.C. Departure in 45 minutes. Ryan approached carefully. "Miss Carter," he said, voice low. "We have arranged alternate transportation with another carrier. Summit Air will cover the full cost." Patricia looked at him. "Summit Air will do more than that." Ryan swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn picked up her briefcase. The waiting passengers watched her stand. Not like spectators now. Like witnesses. Margaret rose, too. "May I walk with you part of the way?" Evelyn looked at her. The answer came slowly. "I would like that." They moved through the gate together. Two women from different lives, joined for a few minutes by a line neither of them had drawn. Daniel lowered his phone as they passed. Evelyn stopped beside him. "You recorded the truth," she said. Daniel nodded, suddenly unable to speak. "Make sure you remember I am more than what happened to me." His eyes lifted. "Yes, ma'am." Evelyn nodded once and continued walking. Her heels clicked against the tile, steady, unhurried. Behind her, Gate B-22 looked smaller than before. Not because the space had changed, because the lie had. Evelyn did not look back when she left Gate B-22. Margaret walked beside her for the first stretch, moving a little slower, one hand on her purse, the other brushing the railing as they passed the wide windows facing the runway. Outside, planes rolled through the grey morning light. Engines hummed behind thick glass. A baggage cart beeped as it backed away from a jet. The airport looked normal. That was the strange part. A person's dignity could be torn open in one corner, and 10 gates away someone was still buying a blueberry muffin. Margaret glanced at Evelyn. "You have children, honey?" Evelyn shook her head. "No, just a mother who still thinks I forget to eat." Margaret gave a small laugh. It came out tired, but real. "That sounds like a mother." For a few steps, neither woman spoke. Then Margaret said, "I should have stepped in sooner." Evelyn kept walking. "You stepped in. After. After still matters." Margaret's eyes filled, but she blinked the tears back. She had spent her life teaching children to raise their hands, use their words, tell the truth. Yet at the gate, for a moment, even she had frozen. That shame sat heavy in her chest. Evelyn saw it. "You know what fear does," Evelyn said. "It makes good people wait for someone else to move first." Margaret nodded slowly. "And what do we do with that?" Evelyn looked ahead. "We remember how it felt. Then we move faster next time." That sentence stayed with Margaret. At the entrance to the next concourse, Patricia Morgan stopped and turned to her. "Mrs. Wilson, an officer will follow up for your formal statement." "Your testimony may matter." Margaret straightened. "Then I will give it." Her voice was not loud. It did not need to be. Evelyn reached out and touched her hand. "Thank you." Margaret squeezed back once. "Go see your mama." Evelyn's face softened. "I intend to." Then she walked on with Patricia. Behind them, Ryan Mitchell remained at Gate B-22, standing in the middle of an airport that no longer felt like his station. His phone kept buzzing. Corporate, legal, media relations, operations. Each call wanted control. Each voice wanted wording. Ryan wanted one thing, the complaint records. He went to the back office and logged into the station system with hands that felt stiff. He typed Marcus Reed's employee number. The file opened, performance reviews, attendance notes. Customer compliments, then complaints. Ryan clicked. 1, 2, 5, 9. His throat tightened. Passenger reported hostile treatment during document check. Passenger alleged discriminatory comments. Passenger stated gate agent refused boarding without clear explanation. Resolved. No action needed. Resolved. No action needed. Resolved. No action needed. The same phrase again and again. Ryan sat back in the chair. The hum of the computer seemed too loud. He had seen some of these before. Not all. Enough. He remembered asking Gary Fulton, the shift supervisor, whether anything needed attention. Gary had shrugged and said some passengers complain when they do not get their way. Ryan had accepted that. Because it was easy. Because the day was busy. Because the flight needed to go. Because no one had shredded a passport yet. He covered his face with both hands. In the operations office, Marcus heard raised voices down the hall. Corporate security had arrived. 2 men in dark jackets spoke with Officer Grant. Officer Ramirez stood nearby, holding the evidence bag like it weighed more than paper. Marcus watched through the doorway. His phone buzzed on the table, a text from a co-worker. "Bro, you are everywhere." He stared at the words. Then a link appeared. He should not have opened it. He did. The video loaded. There he was. His face, his voice, his hand pushing the passport into the shredder. The view count had passed 2 million. Comments blurred beneath it faster than he could read. His skin went cold. For the first time, Marcus heard himself the way everyone else heard him. Not firm. Not professional. Cruel. He locked the phone and set it down like it had burned him. Officer Grant stepped inside. "Mr. Reed, your union representative has been notified. Summit Air Corporate Security is also present. You are being placed on administrative removal from duty pending further investigation." Marcus stood. "Do I get to make a statement? You will have that opportunity." "When?" Officer Grant looked at him. "When you are ready to tell the truth." Marcus's mouth tightened. But he did not answer. Across the airport, Evelyn reached the competitor airline counter. A gate agent named Susan Harper looked up, already briefed, eyes kind, but careful. "Ms. Carter," Susan said, "we have you confirmed to Washington. First class. Boarding begins in about 20 minutes. She handed Evelyn a new boarding pass with both hands. No suspicion, no performance, just respect. Evelyn took it. "Thank you." Susan lowered her voice. "I am sorry for what happened over there." Evelyn looked at the boarding pass, then back at Susan. "Make sure it does not happen here." Susan nodded. "I will." And for Evelyn, that answer mattered more than the apology. Evelyn boarded the competitor flight with the new pass folded once in her hand. The agent at the door greeted her softly. "Good morning, Miss Carter." Evelyn nodded. "Good morning." That was all. No special announcement, no scene, no applause. Just a woman walking down a jet bridge with her briefcase at her side and a kind of silence around her that felt heavier than noise. Inside the aircraft, the first-class cabin smelled of leather, coffee, and lemon disinfectant. A flight attendant stepped back to let her pass. His eyes flicked to her face with quiet recognition, but he did not stare. "May I take your bag?" "I will keep it with me, thank you." "Of course." Evelyn slid into her seat by the window. The runway stretched beyond the glass, grey and wet under the morning sky. She placed her briefcase at her feet and rested one hand on top of it. For the first time since Gate B-22, no one was asking her to prove anything. That should have felt peaceful. It did not. Her phone buzzed. "Mama." Evelyn closed her eyes for one breath, then answered. "Hi, Mama." Her mother's voice came through warm and worried. "Baby, why is your cousin calling me, asking if you are on the internet?" Evelyn looked out the window. "I am all right. That is not what I asked. A small smile touched Evelyn's mouth, then faded. There was an incident at the airport. What kind of incident? Evelyn hesitated. Not because she wanted to hide the truth, but because she knew how pain traveled through mothers. It did not stay information. It became blood pressure, trembling hands, prayers whispered into kitchen air. Someone destroyed my passport. Silence. Then her mother inhaled sharply. Destroyed it? Yes. Because of what? Evelyn did not answer right away. Her mother understood anyway. Oh, Lord. The words came out tired, not surprised. Tired. That hurt more than shock would have. I am safe, Evelyn said. I am on another flight. I will still get there today. I do not care about the cobbler. I know. I care about you. Evelyn's throat tightened. In all the airport noise, in all the official language and legal procedure, those 5 words reached the place she had been guarding. I know, Mama. Across the airport, Ryan Mitchell sat in a conference room with Patricia Morgan, 2 officers, and a Summit Air legal representative on speakerphone. The walls were beige. The table was too shiny. The air conditioning ran cold enough to make everyone sit straighter. Patricia spread the printed complaint records across the table. 9 complaints tied directly to Marcus Reed, she said. 14 involving this station. Several marked resolved without interviews. The lawyer's voice crackled from the phone. We will need time to review the context. Patricia did not blink. You had time. That is the point. Ryan looked down at the papers. Each complaint had a name or a date. A passenger who had gone home angry, embarrassed, unheard. He saw now what bureaucracy could do when it wanted peace more than truth. It could turn a person's pain into a closed file. It could make disrespect disappear behind polite words. Resolved, no action needed. Ryan hated that phrase now. Lauren Bennett sat against the wall, waiting to give her formal statement. Her hands were folded so tightly her knuckles looked white. She listened to Patricia's voice and felt something shift inside her. Training had taught her rules. This morning had taught her responsibility. There was a difference. In the operations office, Marcus Reed signed a notice acknowledging his removal from duty. Corporate security stood beside him. His union representative was on the phone now, speaking in careful, cautious sentences. Do not discuss intent. Do not speculate. Do not contact anyone involved. Marcus barely heard him. His mind kept returning to Evelyn's sentence. I should not need a title to be treated like a person. He hated that the sentence sounded clean. He hated that he could not argue with it without sounding exactly like the man on the video. A security officer handed him a plastic bag, your badge and airport access card. Marcus looked down at the lanyard around his neck. For 7 years he had touched that badge before every shift. It had made him feel trusted, necessary, important. Now it felt cheap. He unclipped it and dropped it into the bag. The plastic made a small, final sound. On the plane, Evelyn ended the call with her mother, just as the cabin door closed. The engines deepened beneath her feet. A flight attendant passed by and paused. Ms. Carter, is there anything you need before takeoff? Evelyn looked at him. For a second, she almost said no. Then she thought of Lauren, Margaret, Daniel, the little boy, her mother. She thought of all the times people swallowed what they needed, because asking felt like risk. Yes, she said. The flight attendant leaned closer. Of course. Evelyn exhaled slowly. I need a glass of water. He smiled, gentle and professional. Right away. It was a small request, a simple one. But when the glass arrived, Evelyn wrapped both hands around it and held on. Because dignity was not only defended in courtrooms or federal offices. Sometimes it began again, with being heard the first time. The flight lifted out of Charlotte under a low grey sky. Evelyn watched the city shrink beneath the wing until the roads turned into thin lines and the airport became a shape behind glass. Her hands rested on the cup of water in her lap. The cold had faded from it, but she still held it like something steady. The cabin was quiet. A newspaper rustled across the aisle. A man cleared his throat. Somewhere behind her, ice shifted in a plastic cup. Evelyn closed her eyes. For the first time that morning, she let herself feel the weight of it. Not all at once. Just enough. The insult. The shredder. The silence before Margaret moved. The young mother kneeling beside her little boy. Daniel's voice saying he recorded it. Lauren's apology. Her mother's tired, "Oh Lord," through the phone. Evelyn had spent years believing that control could protect her. Walk calmly. Speak clearly. Dress well. Carry proof. Know the rules better than the person breaking them. But that morning had reminded her of something painful. Respect should not have to be earned in advance. It should be the starting point. Back at Charlotte Douglas, Marcus Reed was escorted through a side corridor by corporate security. He no longer wore his badge. Without it, his uniform looked unfinished, like a costume missing its meaning. Employees watched from doorways. No one spoke. Marcus kept his eyes forward, but he felt every look land on him. He wanted anger to carry him. He wanted to believe he was being sacrificed for a viral moment. But the video had stripped that story down to nothing. It showed his hand, his voice, his choice. Ryan Mitchell stood in the conference room while Patricia Morgan gathered the complaint files into a neat stack. He looked drained, but not innocent. That was the hardest part for him. He had not shredded the passport. He had not said the words, but he had trusted a system that made those words possible. Patricia slid one file toward him. "Read them," she said. Ryan nodded. "All of them, yes, ma'am. And when you are done, do not ask how this happened. Ask who benefited from not seeing it." Ryan looked up. The sentence stayed in the room after she left. By late afternoon, Summit Air issued its statement. Marcus Reed was removed from duty. A federal inquiry was underway. The airline promised cooperation, training, review, reform. People online argued about the wording. Too late, too polished, too careful. But at Gate B-22, the people who had been there remembered something no statement could smooth over. They remembered the sound, the shredder, that terrible scream of paper being torn into strips. Margaret Wilson gave her statement before boarding a later flight. She sat straight in the chair, purse on her lap, eyes clear. "I am not here because I enjoy trouble," she told Officer Ramirez. "I am here because I saw a woman, treated like she didn't belong in her own country, and I have lived too long to pretend silence is neutral." Officer Ramirez stopped writing for 1 second. Then she nodded. Daniel Brooks sent the original video file to investigators. Before he left the airport, he posted one more message. "She is a person, not just a headline. Remember that." Then he turned off his notifications. Lauren Bennett finished her shift with red eyes and a changed heart. That evening, she wrote her own statement twice. The first version protected her. The second told the truth. She submitted the second. In Washington, Evelyn's mother was waiting near baggage claim when Evelyn arrived. Small woman. Silver hair, brown coat, hands folded around worry. When she saw her daughter, she did not wave. She moved, fast. Evelyn stepped into her arms, and for a moment, all the authority, all the titles, all the federal weight fell away. She was just someone's child. Her mother held her tightly. "I made cobbler," she whispered. Evelyn laughed once against her shoulder. A real laugh. Soft. Broken. Healing. I know, Mama. The investigation would come. The hearings would come. The consequences would come. Marcus would learn that power without humility is not strength. Summit Air would learn that buried complaints do not disappear. They wait, and Evelyn Carter would keep flying. Not because she forgot, because she refused to let one man's prejudice become the border of her life. So take this story with you. Like the video if it reminded you that dignity matters. Subscribe if you believe stories like this still need to be told. And in the comments, leave 3 words for Evelyn and everyone who has ever had to prove they belonged where they already had every right to stand. Justice must win.